Hi, guys. Welcome back to Me Time with Jay. Of course, this is our Month of Love edition, segment 3. Of course, we always talk about cocktails and conversations. So, again, if you're over 21, signature beverage, and it's red, guys, because we're in the month of love. So, again, this is my spritzer mimosa with a little champagne, a little Grand Marnier, fruit. I have strawberries, watermelon, pineapple in there. So if you're 21 and older and you want to have a little sippy sip while you ponder this knowledge that we're dropping, please feel free to do so. So let's get into it. Today we are talking about boundaries that don't bend under pressure. Now, if you have ever struggled with saying no, this segment is for you. Boundaries are not punishment. Let me say that again, people. Boundaries are not punishment. They are simply instructions for you to share with people how to love you. I'm going to say that again. They are instructions for you to show others how to love you. A healthy relationship has boundaries like my time needs respect, my emotions matter, we communicate, not avoid, no silent treatment, no emotional manipulation. I'm going to say those again. My time needs respect. My emotions matter. We communicate, not avoid. No silent treatment. And no emotional manipulation. Now I'm going to write each of those down. When we talk about my time needs respect, that's simply what it is, respecting one another's time. Time is the most valuable commodity we have because we cannot get it back. So you want to make sure that you're being intentional with your time, with your partner, or with your family, because these relationships aren't just romantic relationships. These are also your interpersonal relationships. These are familial relationships. So that's inclusive of family, friends, romantic partners, but respecting your time, being intentional about the time that you spend with those that you love. Make sure that it is quality over quantity. I understand we all have busy lives. We all get caught up in the day to day, myself included. As a mom, now as a business owner in private practice, as a wife, I have to balance all of them. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. And my husband would definitely tell you we are not perfect at all. But what we are learning, and as we grow, is that everybody's time needs to be respected. So just make sure that when you are spending time with someone, be in the moment with them. Be intentional about the things that you discuss, say, and do in those moments. Next, it talks about my emotions matter. Now, this is a big one, guys. How often have you felt like, oh my God, it doesn't matter what I say, what I think, it's not going to be heard or felt, or it's just not going to matter? That often leaves you frustrated. It causes tension in those relationships. And then you find yourself avoiding the person. You don't want to spend time with them because you feel like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm there or not. And so you want to make sure that in healthy relationships of all kinds, you want to make sure that the people that you're choosing to spend this valuable time to matter to you. And you also want them to feel like you matter. So make sure that you're affirming them. You're saying, hey, look, I know we had a kind of tough conversation, or I know we're going through this, or I know that we're busy. But when this happened, it made me feel this way. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge the feeling. Be willing to hear that person's perspective. Listen without defending. Honestly, hear them out and let them know that they matter. Even if you may not understand where they're coming from, you can say, I understand that you're upset, and I'm sorry that you're upset. How can we reach an understanding? So, making sure that your loved one knows that they matter. And you also want them to make you feel like you matter. Next, we talk about communicating. And again, that's just what it is. Even when it's hard, it's easy to communicate when things are good, when we're happy. But the true test of communication is when it's not so good. When you are a little upset. Be mindful of your words. Be mindful of your tone. And communicate, not avoid. Now, if things get heated, I tell everybody, take a time out. Come back when cooler heads prevail. But the key is making sure that you come back. Don't just leave it there. Because again, that leads to the next issue. No silent treatment. Sometimes I remember growing up, people would say silence is golden. Well, that's not always the case. Okay? Now, there are times when we need to be silent, when we need to take a step back, when we need to reflect on what it is we're thinking and we're feeling before we say it. But we always need to come back and have a discussion. If you can't have the discussion right then with your loved ones, then it's okay to say, you know what? Right now, I'm really angry or I'm really overwhelmed and I don't want to say the wrong thing. Let's come back and talk about it later. Now, once you have tabled it, don't walk around not talking to them. You still can be cordial, still be nice, still be loving, still let them know that the disagreement that you've had doesn't negate your love for them, which goes back to that their emotions matter. And then lastly, no emotional manipulation. We all know what that is. We call it gaslighting. Well, that passive aggressive I tried to, but you didn't want to hear me when I was talking to you. Or something to that nature. Don't do that. Sometimes silence in those moments is okay. Once you've expressed that you need to process, you're overwhelmed. You still care for them, but it's right now you aren't able to articulate what it is. And don't manipulate them. Be okay with, right now I'm not okay. But if you give me a minute, we can work through it and we can be okay. And most importantly, your boundary must have a consequence. Or it's just a suggestion. So when you think about boundaries, if your thing is, if you have an unhealthy communication style and you say, hey, I don't want you to speak to me in that manner. Or another thing may be when people, I'll tell you as a therapist, my biggest pet peeve is people that don't show. Because I spent my time. So for me, my boundary is if you no-show for an appointment, I don't automatically reschedule you. You have to reschedule. If you miss multiple appointments, then you're no longer able to book with me. Or you have to pay upfront in full before your session. That's a consequence because my boundary is communicate that you're unable to make it, cancel ahead of time, and then we're okay. So think about the different things in your life, whatever that boundary may be, with that cousin, that brother, that sister, that boyfriend, that situationship. Once you set a boundary, when people habitually cross the boundary, you need to have a consequence that you can enforce for when that boundary is not honored. Because remember, these boundaries are you telling people how you need to be loved. So, comment nope if you grew up as a people pleaser, or drop a stop sign if you want a boundary setting tip that you can use today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube page. But yeah, drop your comments in there. I want to know what you think. Tomorrow, we're going to dial into healing after betrayal. But that's all today, folks. Have a good one. Remember, boundaries are not punishments. Take care.